Oh, hey there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just doing some rehearsing from the comics because I knew that most of you pretty much did enjoy. I mean, not only enjoyed my Justice League and the Looney Tunes, and also my episode 1 of Madman. I'm also going to be working on episode 2, so I'm going to be rounding up some more lines for some more people. And of course, I'll be also be working on episode 3, just to keep you guys up to date. But enough with Madman. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, 'tis I, Michael A. Graham, aka the Multi-Voice. I have many voices, but one opinion. And I hope most of you had enjoyed my Doctor Who-a-thon. I mean, not my God. I mean, my multi-voice-ween. but, but it's really good to go back to my usual schedule review list. So, time to pick up where I left off on the Planetary. I'm just sort of, more hooked to the Planetary, and that's why I keep on doing these reviews and letting you guys think about the world we live in of today. Now, I remember last time I left off, it was the one involving the space character, who was like a sort of like their version of Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, and whatnot. But now we have Planetary issue number 16. Now, this one starts where we have this woman who goes by the name of Harka Lynn. And Harka Lynn meets this guy who calls himself Lou. And of course, I start noticing in the comics, Lou, as you can see from the picture, his teeth are red. So Harka Lynn, like you see in the picture, she put the tip of her fingernail on the fire from her candle and just made a big green circle flame. And then Lou and Harka Lynn, they start having a bit of a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of moment. It was a fight between Lou and Harka Lynn until she used her Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon ability. She made her hand glow very bright and hit the ground. And all of a sudden, Lou gets defeated by some spiritual dragon symbol coming out of the ground. But that's in the past, and we go into the present, where we met the latest descent of the Hark family, the one who is the daughter of another Hark from the first episode, from the very first issue I talked about, where now we meet the daughter, Anna Hark. And she said throughout centuries, every descendant, ever since Harka Alin, tried to keep the peace and the fighting against the evil in the world in China for centuries. So every descent of the Hark family always do their best to bring the sun, let the sun shine in China. So now Elijah Snow, the guy who always appear in the show, he starts talking to Anna, and he starts telling her that somehow, I mean, she did get involved with the Four, but only to make sure that the sun always shine. And as it turns out, Elijah Snow figured out that it was her doing, which our character, James Wilder, touch that beacon and become all superpowered and all. So she had a hand on some of the things that happened lately. But one thing Elijah Snow wants, Elijah wants the four, and he wants to take them down once and for all. And then he called on his phone, and all of a sudden, Jim Wilder showed up. And, huh, that's interesting. Turns out Anna Hark and Jim Wilder, turns out they have a relationship. So they both started hugging and talking to each other. And of course, Anna Hark says that she's from the line of family who can last a little longer, like maybe around 600 years. This is why I always love the Chinese mythology and the Chinese history and everything. Some people say that most Chinese people last longer than any of us. But I still have a problem with their president. The dickhead. But anyway, Jim and Hannah decided to have their moment while Elijah took off. And then we get to another sort of a backstory in issue number 17. In issue number 17, Elijah Snow has been exploring the African jungles. And of course, he got his gun ready because he saw a couple of tribes staring at him until he found a top secret African tribe, a village, which is kind of like the Wakanda in this issue, which of course this place is called Opakari. And when he was about ready to go to that place, this giant reptilian-like snake showed up. Looks like this. And Elijah Snow used his freezing ability to freeze him in half, and then all of a sudden that giant snake starts growing legs, and he says, well, that's unfair. He's a cheater. And out come Lord Blackstock. And Lord Blackstock, for those of you who don't know who he is, he's like their version of Tarzan. And he was also with Dr. Alex Brass, because he was the member of the secret society. Anyway, Lord Blackstock showed up and destroyed the snake and save Elijah Snow. And he welcomed him in Opakari. Now, the tribe did welcome him, since they did welcome Lord Blackstock, so they welcome Elijah Snow in. But sadly, one of the tribe members told him that he can stay in their place as long as they want, but on one condition. He is not allowed to fall in love with their female tribe, because it is forbidden. They don't accept interracial romance or have offspring children. But, sadly, he broke the law. He broke that rule because one certain tribe all of a sudden fancied him, and her name is Anna K. The girl that I mentioned in my old Planetary reviews. So Elijah Snow and Anna K, they both had their own relationship, and of course he was kind of surprised because he thought no women would ever fancy him. He thought him being a new world, that there's be no women be interested or fancies him at all. Sounds a lot like how I feel. And he kind of asked her why did he choose him? He should go out with Blackstock. But she knows that even though Blackstock was interesting, he is dangerous. And he always thought that most women fancies that kind of guy, but there's more to it than that. But she preferred Elijah Snow because he was teaching some of the tribe what he learned in the outside world and everything. And then he had a talk with Blackstock, telling him that he ever had a relationship with any of the tribe. And Blackstock says no. He mostly has relationship with British girls. So Blackstock he never fancied any of the tribal women. He just preferred English girls. Well, after all, he is based out of Tarzan, and I guess Tarzan is still not in the public domain at the time. They would have mentioned Jane. But anyway, Elijah Snow, he has to go somewhere, but he did promise her that he will be back. And then that one time he did return, but he noticed something. He noticed that that tribe is closing itself up. It's shutting itself in the outside world. And he saw something laying in front, and it is Elijah Snow's child. Turns out that the tribe people abandoned the child because they don't want a mixed race child in their tribe. So it turns out Elijah's love interest, Anaka, she trusted Elijah to be with the child. And of course, Elijah tells her to come with me, but she says, I can't. I've forsaken them, and I want them to forgive me. So she decided to stay with her tribe people, hoping that they would forgive her, make sure she doesn't get shunned out of her tribe. But she wants Elijah to take care of the child. So sadly, the tribe is closing up, and she decided to stay behind, and even told Elijah that she is sorry. So Elijah took the child and left Opakri. And of course, there is a narration saying that he met a family who calls themselves the Wagners, and they decided to raise this offspring child as their own. And believe it or not, this child turns out to be none other than Chiquita Wagner, the fastest gal in the group. So Chiquita is the daughter of Elijah and Anaka. Huh. Who'd have thunk it? Now it's time to get to the next story, and the final story that is, which is issue number 18. Now, in issue number 18, we introduce Stone. John Stone. Do 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 do. You know, one of these days I will review James Bond sooner or later, but the only way I can do that, I need to find myself a tuxedo. But anyway, Jon Snow, he was sitting by himself on the porch, and some jogger lady shows up saying hi to him. But of course, Elijah Snow, being a blocker, he said you should better leave because he's from the CDC, and being with this guy, you'll get something. So she left. And Snow called him a bastard. But they had a conversation. They noticed that the four had a. I mean, the four. They discover that there is a satellite in space and it's about ready to land on Earth. So he needs to find some information, what Stone had discovered. And of course, Stone, being a jackass, when he was done with his cigarette, he tossed a cigarette on a pigeon, killing it. And then all of a sudden, Elijah contacted Drummer, the tech whiz kid. And it turns out that this round space object destroyed one of the satellite when it was passing through and landed all the way here on Earth. And then we have the members of the Four, the evil version, the Fantastic Four, where their member of the Four is, of course, William Leather, the evil version of the Human Torch. He showed up and about ready to retrieve this beacon, and he was calling his leader Randall. And then all of a sudden, a helicopter showed up, and it picked up that piece of space equipment. I mean, that flying object. And he thought he's going to go up in that helicopter and kill them. So he got into the helicopter. Little did he know that that helicopter is filled with explosives. And on the screen of the helicopter, there's Drummer saying, "Hello, delivery from New York for Mr. Asswipe." And then the helicopter exploded, knocking out William. And then out come Chiquita and Elijah. And Chiquita has a device called the Hark Tech. I guess Anna Hark had a device that could pretty much take away the powers of the Fours. So Chiquita, she jumps out of the helicopter and ran towards William, and then he injected that tech right in the back of his head, knocking him out in the process. And of course, Elijah kicked him in the face and told the team to take this piece of crap away from him. And Chiquita had busted the hinge on that space device, and she opened it up. Turns out that it was a space shuttle belonged to 3 men who are actually the American Gun Club. The guys from the American Gun Club was about ready to go into the moon, and what they were doing is they were trying to bring some weapons and guns in space and see what would be helpful in the universe. But the problem is they never had radio contact, so they couldn't contact them. So sadly, they went up into space and they died. Haven't survived. Didn't even know, I mean, everybody didn't even know if they were alive or dead. And they were all being forgotten. So they went into their cabin and found all the documents and pictures. Turns out that the bunch of men had like this big metal tube, and they put them in that space device, telling farewell to everybody. And then they shot up into space. Oh dear. And it turns out one of their spacemen even had a girlfriend or a wife, but never returned. And that was it. Well, that is the end of the Planetary for today. So, in 2 weeks, I'm going to pick up where I left off from the Planetary. So this is my review of the Planetary issue 16, 17, and 18 for today. And for those of you who seems to find this story interesting so far, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe for more. And I'm the multi-voice reviewer. I remember so I can jog your memory.